Picture this for a moment. It's late at night. A developer is sitting in front of a glowing screen, coffee growing cold beside the keyboard, trying to solve a problem that should have taken 10 minutes but is somehow stretching into hours. The code itself isn't broken. The logic is sound, and the project architecture makes sense. The real problem isn't the code at all. It's the environment around it, quietly slowing everything down with unnecessary friction. A package manager throws strange dependency errors, an automatic update interrupts a process, or some hidden system limitation blocks progress for no obvious reason. Now imagine the same developer, same project, same late night challenge, but with a different setup. Every command responds instantly. Every tool behaves predictably, and the operating system feels less like an obstacle and more like a cooperative assistant. That difference is exactly why so many developers choose Linux. To outsiders, Linux often seems intimidating. It carries this reputation of being only for hardcore programmers, hackers, or people who enjoy staring at black terminal screens full of cryptic commands. It can look complex and unapproachable from the outside, but inside the software development world, Linux has a very different reputation. It is viewed as one of the most efficient and empowering environments a developer can use. For many programmers, it is not just an operating system, but a serious productivity multiplier. What makes Linux so interesting is that it doesn't win people over with flashy design or expensive marketing campaigns. It doesn't rely on polished commercials or massive branding strategies to attract users. Instead, it wins through practicality. Developers choose Linux because it solves real problems. It removes unnecessary friction, gives users more control, and creates an environment where work can happen faster and more naturally. Its value is proven through experience rather than promotion. And that's the key idea here. Productivity in software development is rarely about finding some magical app or revolutionary trick. Most of the time, productivity comes from removing small annoyances that interrupt focus. Every tiny interruption matters. Waiting for software to launch, fighting with permissions, troubleshooting compatibility issues, or dealing with unnecessary restrictions all chip away at momentum. These little disruptions might seem harmless, but they add up quickly. Coding requires deep concentration. Developers often need extended periods of uninterrupted focus to solve complex problems and build elegant solutions. Every interruption breaks that flow, forcing the brain to rebuild context before progress can continue. Linux helps protect that focus. It was built with a philosophy that puts the user in control rather than hiding decisions behind layers of automation. That simple difference has huge implications for productivity. Many modern operating systems are designed to make choices for users. They prioritize convenience through restriction, often hiding system internals and limiting customization. For everyday users, that can be helpful because it simplifies things. Developers, however, are not everyday users. Their relationship with a computer is far more interactive. They're constantly building, testing, configuring, debugging, and optimizing systems that depend on predictable behavior. When an operating system hides too much, developers lose visibility. They spend time guessing what's happening behind the scenes instead of solving actual problems. That lack of transparency creates frustration. Linux takes the opposite approach. It exposes the system rather than concealing it. It lets developers inspect processes, examine logs, edit configurations, and understand exactly what is happening at every level. This transparency changes everything. When something breaks on Linux, there is usually a direct path to understanding why it broke. Developers can trace the issue, inspect details, and fix the root cause. That level of control is incredibly valuable. Debugging is already difficult enough when the issue lies in the code itself. When the operating system also becomes a mystery box, solving problems becomes exponentially harder. Linux removes much of that uncertainty. It gives developers visibility into the entire system, making troubleshooting faster and more precise. And faster troubleshooting means more time spent actually building things. One of the biggest reasons developers love Linux is the terminal. To many people, the command line looks old-fashioned and intimidating, like something left over from the earliest days of computing. But for developers, the terminal is one of the most powerful productivity tools ever created. It offers unmatched speed, flexibility, and precision once you learn how to use it effectively. Graphical interfaces are great for discovering features. They make software approachable and easy to navigate for beginners. But once you know exactly what you need to do, clicking through menus becomes inefficient. The terminal removes that overhead entirely. Instead of navigating through multiple windows and settings, panels, developers can execute precise commands instantly. Need to rename hundreds of files. One command handles it. Need to search thousands of lines of logs for a specific error. One command finds it. Need to automate repetitive deployment steps. A simple script solves the problem. This is where Linux shines brightest. Its command line ecosystem is mature, efficient, and designed for composition. Small tools can be combined in powerful ways to create custom work. Utilities like grep, awk, curl, ssh, rink, and tmux may seem simple individually, but together they form an incredibly flexible toolkit that developers can adapt to almost any challenge. Once a developer becomes comfortable with these tools, productivity accelerates dramatically. Tasks that once took minutes can be completed in seconds. Repetitive work becomes automated. That's one reason Linux often feels faster, even when running on identical hardware. The efficiency comes not just from system performance, but from how quickly users can interact with the machine. Another major advantage is customization. This is one of Linux's defining strengths and one of the biggest reasons developers become deeply attached to it. Every developer works differently. Some prefer minimalist setups with no distractions. Others want highly detailed environments with custom layouts, shortcuts, and automation tailored to their workflow. Linux supports all of it. Developers can choose their desktop environment, configure window managers, customize keyboard behavior, and script system actions to match their exact preferences. This matters more than people realize. Software development is mentally demanding work, and even small environmental inefficiencies can create cognitive friction. When the system behaves exactly the way a developer expects, less mental energy is wasted adapting to the environment. That energy can instead be focused on solving technical challenges. Linux allows developers to shape their environment around their workflow rather than forcing their workflow to adapt to the operating system. That difference is subtle but incredibly powerful. Then there's package management, one of Linux's most underrated productivity advantages. Many people don't fully appreciate how transformative a good package manager can be until they experience one. On some systems, installing software means visiting websites, downloading installers, clicking through setup menus, and hoping there are no conflicts or hidden issues. Linux makes this dramatically simpler. Most software can be installed with a single command, often from centralized repositories maintained by the distribution. Need a programming language. Install it instantly. Need a database server. One command. Need development libraries or utilities. They're usually available immediately. Package managers handle dependencies automatically. They keep software organized, make updates consistent, and reduce the chaos that often comes with managing development tools. This consistency saves enormous time over months and years of work. It also creates predictability, which is critical for developers who depend on stable environments. Consistency becomes even more important when working in teams. Modern software development is highly collaborative, often involving developers spread across different machines and locations. Linux makes it easier to reproduce environments. Configuration files, scripts, and package lists can be shared to ensure everyone is working with similar setups. This reduces one of the most frustrating phrases in software development. It works on my machine. Linux helps make environments more reproducible and dependable. Another huge reason developers choose Linux is its dominance in servers and cloud infrastructure. The majority of production systems around the world run on Linux. Web servers, cloud platforms, containers, Kubernetes clusters, and back-end infrastructure all heavily rely on Linux. This makes local Linux development highly practical. When developers use Linux on their own machines, their local environment closely mirrors production systems. That means fewer surprises during deployment. This alignment shortens feedback loops. Developers can test applications in conditions closer to the real world, identify issues earlier, and deploy with greater confidence. Shorter feedback loops are one of the strongest predictors of productivity. The faster developers can test ideas and get results, the faster they can improve those ideas. Containers have made this even more relevant. Technologies like Docker are deeply rooted in Linux and work most naturally within Linux environments. Although Docker runs elsewhere, Linux remains its native home. Performance tends to be smoother, compatibility is stronger, and behavior is generally more predictable. For developers working with modern cloud-native systems, Linux often feels like the most natural choice. It removes layers of abstraction and lets container workflows operate directly. Then there's a resource efficiency. Linux is known for being lightweight and efficient, often consuming fewer system resources than many alternatives. This means more CPU power, memory, and storage bandwidth are available for actual development work. Compiling code, running tests, and executing containers all benefit. That responsiveness matters. Even tiny delays add up over time, subtly disrupting concentration and slowing progress. A fast, responsive system helps preserve flow state. Linux often delivers that smoothness, especially on hardware that might struggle under heavier operating systems. This also extends the lifespan of older machines. Many developers revive aging laptops with Linux, turning seemingly obsolete hardware into capable development systems. That practicality resonates strongly in technical communities. Developers appreciate tools that maximize value and minimize waste. One of Linux's most powerful but often overlooked benefits is how much it teaches its users. Linux naturally encourages deeper technical understanding. Because the system is transparent, developers learn about file systems, permissions, networking, processes, and automation simply by using it. This learning compounds over time. A developer who understands their tools deeply becomes more effective at solving problems. They troubleshoot faster, automate more intelligently, and optimize workflows more effectively. Linux acts almost like an educational platform disguised as an operating system. This broader knowledge transfers across many areas of technology. Developers comfortable with Linux often feel more capable in back-end engineering, cloud systems, DevOps, and security. That versatility boosts both productivity and confidence. It creates developers who are not only faster, but also more adaptable. The Linux community is another major factor. It represents one of the largest collaborative ecosystems in technology. Documentation, forums, tutorials, open source repositories, and community discussions provide an enormous pool of shared knowledge. If a developer encounters a problem, chances are someone else has already faced it and documented a solution. That collective intelligence accelerates because Linux's open source solutions are often transparent. Users can inspect code, understand bugs, and even contribute fixes. That openness creates a sense of empowerment. Developers are not dependent on waiting for a corporation to acknowledge and solve issues. Of course, Linux is not perfect. It has a learning curve, and there are moments when configuration can become frustrating. Some hardware compatibility issues still exist. Certain commercial software remains better supported elsewhere. And yes, developers sometimes spend hours tweaking things unnecessarily, but these challenges are usually part of the initial learning phase. Once developers gain familiarity, the long-term productivity gains often far outweigh the early friction. That's why many developers never go back. After experiencing the level of control and efficiency Linux offers, other systems can feel restrictive. The productivity advantage becomes tangible. It appears in small moments that accumulate over time. The command that saves 5 minutes. The script that eliminates repetitive work. The environment that never interrupts focus. Individually, these moments seem minor. Collectively, they create a substantial edge over months and years of development work. There's also a psychological shift that happens. Linux encourages experimentation and deeper engagement with technology. Developers start asking better questions. How can this workflow be automated? How can this process be optimized? What's really happening behind the scenes? This mindset aligns perfectly with engineering. It turns the operating system into something actively shaped and improved. That creates a powerful feedback loop. Better understanding leads to better customization, which leads to smoother workflows and greater productivity. This is why Linux users often speak about it with such enthusiasm. It's not blind loyalty or elitism. It's the result of lived experience. They've felt what it's like when the system truly supports their work instead of resisting it. There's also a philosophical alignment. Software development is fundamentally about building systems and solving problems. Linux reflects those same principles through openness, transparency, and flexibility. It resonates with the engineering mindset. Working in an environment aligned with those values can be motivating. Motivation itself is an important contributor to productivity. A productive developer is not just technically efficient. They are mentally engaged and invested in their tools. Linux fosters that engagement. It rewards curiosity, experimentation, and mastery in ways many other systems simply do not. Looking forward, Linux remains deeply relevant. As cloud-native systems, distributed architectures, and automation continue to grow, Linux sits at the center of it all. Learning Linux is increasingly becoming a foundational skill for modern developers. Those who embrace it early often gain a significant advantage, both in productivity and career growth. So why do developers choose Linux? The answer is simple. They choose it because it gives them control, speed, transparency, and efficiency in ways few other environments can match. The real secret productivity weapon is not Linux itself, but what Linux enables. It enables deeper understanding, faster iteration, better automation, and sustained focus. For millions of developers around the world, that combination makes Linux more than just an operating system. It becomes an invisible partner in creation, quietly removing friction so ideas can move faster from thought to reality. And in software development, where focus is everything, that kind of support changes everything.